Hi there, welcome back to Sound Approach for part 4 of the HIFIMAN headphone series. We are talking now about the most important piece, the EF499 headphone amplifier. This is a fantastic piece and I'm really glad that I decided to pull this one off the shelf and test it. I haven't tested any of the HIFIMAN headphone amps except for the Serenade. I've looked at the Serenade, I've listened to it. The last time I listened to it, I believe it was paired with the audiophile in the Serenade at Exponent in Chicago earlier this year. And it was a phenomenal setup and I was very excited to get my hands on a piece that I could play around with a little bit more instead of just listen to. So the EF499 is a fantastic headphone amplifier that does XLR and quarter-inch jack. So we've got the quarter-inch jack, that's what I listened to. I did not listen via XLR. You've got your inputs on the bottom here, so you would need an adapter for the XLR to these headphones. However, HIFIMAN does carry the higher end headphones have XLR inputs, 4-pin XLRs, I believe, and they would be able to plug into this headphone amplifier, and I think you'd get even better performance. The one thing that I want to point out, one of the things that I'd like to point out about the EF499 is that it improved the performance on all 3 of these headphones. It had the least impact on the HE400 SEs, but it had a dramatic impact on the clarity, the soundstage, and the imaging for the Ananda and the Arya, especially the soundstage. It really opened it up and gave just a much more dynamic experience than without. I tested these headphones as well with the Cambridge Audio Evo 150, which is our normal test bed because it can test everything. And I actually prefer the EF499 over the Cambridge, which I was surprised about. This is a much cheaper option. I believe it's $299, and the Cambridge Audio is, it's an integrated amplifier receiver or integrated amplifier and streamer and does all sorts of different things. It just doesn't do headphone amps as well as I expected. So the amplification that I got out of the EF499 was fantastic. It's a standalone piece. You can plug it in via Ethernet to your router, but you do need Google Cast to be able to set it up, and something like Roon to be able to stream to it, or not stream to it, but go through your router and everything. So you can set it up that way. What I decided to do was, because I played around with this in a few different ways. I did not like trying to connect to my phone because it didn't work. If I wanted to be able to connect this to my phone, I needed to use a Mac computer and set up the driver so that my phone would be able to identify the USB connection through USB-C. And that's a pain in the butt. However, most people are going to use these as like a desktop amp. So if you have a desktop computer, it works much easier. You connect it via USB to your desktop computer. If it's C or if it's USB-A, it doesn't matter. I used a USB-C cable and it was super simple to set up. The computer automatically read the information, created the driver, and it's as simple as changing between different outputs for the sound. And I also streamed on Spotify. Again, it's very easy. You just select which device you're going to be streaming the music to, or be sending the music to. It's very, very simple. Had no issues with that when it was plugged into the computer. Didn't need the Ethernet or coax or optical cables. It has those ports if you have like a NAS or something, a NAS. If you have a NAS system, you can connect it via USB that way as well. So it's not easy to use with a mobile device, but it's very easy to use with a desktop device. So it's kind of apples and oranges. I know a lot of people use mobile devices. I tried my iPad, that didn't work either because it didn't have the USB debugging thing. There are ways to do it, and there are instructions online. So if you wanted to do it, you could. It just takes a lot more steps to get there. I did not take those steps. I just plugged it into my regular desktop and was able to get up and running within a few minutes and started listening to music. The other cool thing is I was able to switch between the amplifier and just the headphone port on the computer back and forth really quickly without having to change any settings. The device automatically recognized where it was plugged in, whether it was via the amplifier or the computer, and I was able to switch back and test the different sounds that I was getting from the amplifier, which was fantastic. It's really nice when you can switch quickly to test sounds and to test performance. So I was very happy. The 1/4 inch worked great. Obviously, a 1/4 inch isn't going to change versus 3.5 millimeter. You're going to get the same output, but this just happens to have a 1/4 inch jack. And what's cool is the cables that come with these headphones have an adapter. So you've got your 3.5 millimeter, and then you've got your 6.35 1/4 inch jack. All right, so the bass response, yes. The bass response was also better on all 3 of these headphones with the amplifier. The amplifier is just giving the headphones more power and more ability to open up and perform better. And it did that very, very well on the Arya and the Ananda, not as well on the HE400. It did improve it, but it wasn't as dramatic an improvement. I just don't think the headphones are capable of much more. So let's see. If you're interested in specifications and stuff, you can definitely check out this item on our website. I'll leave the link down below for you to see. If you're interested, you can take a look. There's different wattages for XLR versus the 1/4 inch jack input. This does weigh about 7 pounds, so it's a substantial piece. It's not made out of plastic, it's made out of metal, so it's much more durable and much more tangible than other items. And the biggest thing that I would leave you with is that when you use the amplifier, it gives more depth and more soundstage and more oomph to the performance. Without it, the music sounds just slightly anemic, and it sounds great. It sounds good with these headphones, but the amplifier just adds some punchiness that is really, really great for the price that this is currently being sold at. So if you're interested, check out our website. Again, the link's down below. Otherwise, I think this is the end of the HIFIMAN headphone series for a while. This is the second video we've done, or the second series we've done on HIFIMAN. But I had a lot of fun. I really did. I spent so much time listening to different music, and I really, really enjoyed myself with this one. So please check out our website, soundapproach.com. Subscribe to our channel. I'm going to be testing and reviewing more items in the future. Stay tuned for that. Thanks everybody, and we'll see you next time. Bye.